I'm going to start us off this morning with a little quiz. And this is a visual quiz. So if you're not by your computer screen or far away from your screen, I'll give you a second to get close and get comfy. Okay, so don't worry, this will just be a minute, and then you can go back to your Makom Kavu, okay? Everyone ready? All right, so there are going to be 2 rounds. And here are the rules. They're pretty simple. It's a quiz of identification. I'm going to show you some images, and you're going to see if you can identify what they are. Okay, is everyone ready for round 1? All right, here we go. Hold on one second. All right. Round 1, here we go. Here's your first image. Here's your second image. Your third image. Your fourth image. And your fifth image. All right, so let's go back through that. Oops, excuse me. All right, so how did you do on your first round? We had McDonald's, we had Chevy, we had Twitter, we had the Detroit Red Wings, and we had Congregation Shaarey Zedek. Here's round 2. Are we ready? Identify this tree. Okay, second image. Identify this tree. And this tree. And one last one. And this tree. All right. So how'd everyone do that? The second round was an eastern white pine first. The second one was an elm. The third one was a maple. And fourth, and finally, the last one was an olive tree. Everyone do okay? Okay, so hold on one second. Let me get out of there. Okay, so if you didn't do so well on the second round, don't worry. And if you did much better on the second round than you did on the first round, do me a favor and don't tell me, because it will contradict my entire sermon this morning. I wanted to run through this quick exercise because we have a holiday coming up in just a few days. It's a holiday that is largely left unobserved. It doesn't get a lot of fanfare or attention, and it's really only been since the Chalutzim, the pioneers of the second and third Aliyot to Israel, that this holiday has found a home outside of the Jewish mystics. Tu B'Shvat, or the 15th of Shvat, is, according to the Mishnah, one of 4 Rosh Hashanah, one of 4 New Years in the Jewish calendar. That's right, we don't have 1 New Year, we have 4. Rosh Hashanah itself, which is the new year for years, an honoring of creation and the way that we measure the agricultural cycle of Yovel, of the Jubilee, of Shemitah, of the Shemitah years, and more. The first of Nisan, just before Pesach, is our second Rosh Hashanah, is the new year for kings and for festivals, and it is also the first month of the Hebrew calendar. The first of Elul, which I don't even have to say, we all know it, of course, it is the new year for the cattle tithing, so I'll just go through that really quickly. And the first of Shvat, according to Beit Hillel, but according to Beit Shammai, but according to Beit Hillel, the 15th, or Tu B'Shvat, which is the Rosh Hashanah, which is the new year for the trees. And just to be clear, before I say anything else, I don't want this to come across as judgy or accusative in any way. The truth is that this holiday, with the exception of the adoption of some Jewish mystical groups, has been more of a halachic or a legal mark on the Jewish calendar than anything else throughout our entire history. It has been a way to calculate the mitzvah of Orla, the 3 years after a tree is planted when its fruit can be eaten. And it's also been a reminder to tithe those fruits or the income made from them. It's kind of like a reminder on our calendar to pay our taxes. That is what this holiday has been used for hundreds, if not thousands of years. But the reason that Tu B'Shvat has never really became established as a nature holiday until fairly recently is because our ancestors didn't need a reminder. They didn't need a special day once a year to understand just how much they relied upon the trees. They didn't need to be told that trees give them life, nourishment, relief, comfort, and connection to Maaseh Bereshit, to the act, the process of creation, and to the Creator, God's self. And I suppose that logically, most of us also don't need that reminder, because I think we're aware of that truth. We know intellectually that we breathe oxygen that comes from trees, that so many of the products we use every single day come from trees, and that the places we live are beautified, become much more attractive and peaceful with the presence of trees. But the difference is that our knowledge of these truths is passive. A truth that gets shifted to the back of our brains as something that just is, always has been, and always will be, which makes it a truth that we unfortunately too often take for granted. So think back to our quiz and how easy it is for us to identify brands and logos of sports teams, of fast food restaurants, but how difficult it is to recognize types of trees that we see every single day. The Industrial Revolution gave us and continues to give us so much for which we should be thankful. It has led to the advent of a technological renaissance that has made possible things we once considered to be the stuff of dreams. It has connected us humans to one another, eliminating the barriers of geography and financial means, and it no doubt has so much more left to show us. But there is loss here. There is some real loss that comes with this, because it has also stripped us of our connection to the world that held us, fed us, and sustained us for millions of years. It has taken from us a relationship that the great philosopher Martin Buber would consider one that is I, thou, a deep emotional and cosmic connection that fostered a deep knowledge, a deep appreciation and respect, a deep love for the life that shares this world with us, and replaced it with one that is I, it. We are the focus, and everything else is a non-consequential footnote in our own personal stories. But that is not what Judaism asks of us. That is not what our religion is about. Hahefech, quite the opposite, actually. Judaism, especially Rabbinic Judaism, of which we are all inheritors and successors, at its core is about a theological awareness of connectivity, of striving to be perpetually cognizant of the source, and I mean source here with a capital S, of all life. Not to just find the natural world outside of our windows and doors pretty or beautiful, but to interact with the world with the same kind of familiarity, understanding, and gratitude that we do with neighbors, with community, with family. Because just as our human relationships sustain our emotional lives, the fabric of creation sustains our physical and also our spiritual lives. There's something really important here, and it's something that I think requires some tshuva from us. And I mean tshuva in its literal sense, not just of atoning, but of really returning, of going back to understanding our connection to nature in a way that is more than a hobby or an aspect of our personality. A return that can reestablish for us the relationship of the I, thou, that can humble us, that can inspire us, that can bring us to tears. The philosophers Theodor Adorno and Max Horkheimer, in their book, The Dialectic of Enlightenment, use a powerful image to show just how this is possible. They use the story of Odysseus, who is sailing with his crew in the dangerous stretch of waters where the sirens are known to sing their song. And in Greek mythology, the sirens use their beautiful voices to lure ships to the rocks where the ships crash and those on board perish. And so the way that others escape the siren's call is that they plug up their ears so that they can sail on without ever having to hear that seductive melody. But Odysseus does something different. He asks all of his crew to put wax in their ears, but for himself, he asks his crew to tether him to the ship's mast, his ears unencumbered, unblocked, receptive to the song. So when the ship reaches the waters of the sirens, he hears every note. He hears the beauty of their song, and he wants so badly for the ship to head there so he can listen forever to that melody. But his ship doesn't hear a thing. It sails on the way that it's supposed to, without temptation, without veering off course. And eventually, it sails past the islands, and the songs fade away. Odysseus is untied and can sail on while having experienced it all without danger or harm. My friends, Judaism is the mast to which we tie ourselves. It stays its course, progressing as the waves rocket and the sirens call to try to pull it here and there. But rather than blocking our ears to the songs of technology, of industry, and innovation, we can appreciate them all without getting sucked into the rocks and losing focus on our original root, on the things that really and truly matter. Hashkedia parachat, v'shemesh paz zorachat, tziporim merosh kol gag, mevasrot et bo hachag. The almond tree is blooming, and the golden sun is shining. Birds atop each roof announcing the arrival of the Chag, of the holiday. Tu B'Shvat higia Chag ha'ilanot. Tu B'Shvat is here, the holiday of the trees. As the sun sets Wednesday night, I hope that you can join us for our Tu B'Shvat Seder, which will be led by Chazan Propus and myself. But going beyond the day of the holiday, I hope that we can all work together to remind ourselves why this connection is so important, why it's central to who we are as Jews, and why we need to do a little work to get ourselves back to the Judaism that knows and deeply understands the trees, the plants, the flowers, the soil. It's not going to be the easiest tshuva that we've ever done, but it's one that promises to be filled with depth, with meaning, and with limitless riches. And it's one we can do together. So here's to traveling that path as a synagogue family. May it be a journey filled with blessings. And I'm wishing not just us, but our friends, our family, the trees, an early Chag Sameach.